Hello everyone, this is George from Digital Art Scoop, and this is the first of a three-part tutorial on how to build and batch a Photoshop action with a 3D model. So the 3D model we'll be producing is this one. It is an open magazine. This is in fact an older model of mine, which is actually a Photoshop action. So you can imagine all the staggered processes that led to this final output. We'll build it much simpler this time. Just get the 3D model in Photoshop, and the action will actually just map the diffuse texture and on our model. So we'll see that in a second part. And here we'll be focusing on modeling it and setting up proper UVs. So this is not necessarily a modeling tutorial. I'd rather much have you model anything else than a magazine and just put it in Photoshop and let's see how we can build an action around it. So first things first, I'll just build a box around here, and what I'll do is make sure my units are correct. I'll be working in centimeters, so I have 1 unit 1 centimeter. That was customized unit setup. So now I know this is an A4 international paper size, so 2 of these should be an A3. So that would mean 42 centimeters by 29.7. Right, and I'll just put a segment around the middle. As for height, I can go for 1 centimeter. Yeah, maybe 1 centimeter is too much, accounting for the fact that the book is open. Maybe half. Okay, I'll skip the grid for now. So this is a very important principle. When you model something that replicates a real life object, it's always a good idea to make sure the dimensions are proper. It doesn't matter that if in the end you end up scaling it, and if you can scale it or not, it's always a good habit to have. So another principle that we'll be applying here is keeping this really low res. So we don't want too many polygons in Photoshop. So I'll convert this to an editable poly. I will be defining the shape a little bit early on. Start UV texturing before I will be deforming the mesh, so I have a much easier time unwrapping it. And finally I'll detail the model a bit more. So let me start by expanding these edges a little bit. So go in top view, something like this maybe. I'll keep it all symmetrical at first. I'll break the symmetry a bit later. I like this. A magazine usually flares out like this. And let me see. I think this is actually it. I will unwrap my pages right now, and so I don't have deformations on my UVs on my main area. This is another important criteria. Always know how your model will be looking, how it will be orientated in most of the cases, and make sure it works well. Make sure the model is properly set specifically or especially for that angle, for that use, and put more polygons there and better UV layout. So I'll just do UVW map, planar one, and make sure it's a rectangle. So this will suffice for now. Okay, so what I can do now is start defining the cover for this. So I ring this, connect, make sure I go somewhere really low. Okay, something like this. It still has to show in Photoshop a little bit. So I say okay. I think I'll just extrude this inwards a little bit, just a little bit. I'll leave it at 0 and scale it. I'll scale it from here. Now let me check. Okay, this looks okay. This should show up properly in Photoshop. Photoshop has a powerful rendering engine behind it, so this is good for us. Now I think I'll just work on half of the model, makes more sense, and I'll be using symmetry to copy the other half and toggle this show end result. So first let's get that this look, this part right here. So to do this I need more polygons. So the method I'm using now is starting up with a base mesh and gradually adding detail, just gradually adding detail. So I'm selecting these edges and connect. So let's see how many segments I need. I don't need too many segments. I just want it to have a pretty decent curvature. Photoshop will have issues if you put too many polygons in it. So I'm trying to avoid that. So right now I like this. It doesn't matter if you're working with 3ds Max or some other software, the principles are pretty much the same. Oh, I see. Maybe I should go. Okay. Okay, just come manually. Try to define the shape as I like it. Okay, this looks good. Maybe come here a bit more. I'm using 3ds Max 2014, so has this nifty trick of double clicking and looping, so this is pretty good. Okay, again, I don't want a hyper detailed model. I just want something decent. I just configure my viewport not to display selected with edged faces. It bothers me. Okay, we'll also work on the smoothing groups till the end. So here I see I have this one edge which I'd like to be actually a bridge here, ridge, so some sort of a spine. So we'll do this. Okay, I'll just ring, make sure I don't have soft selection on. Okay, and connect. I don't want a big spine. This is a magazine, so it doesn't need one. Okay, this is okay. I'll just come here, do something like this. You notice I have some issues here. I think it's from the symmetry. Yeah, the symmetry has a weld threshold, too big weld threshold. This is better, I think. Okay, now I think I like this. I'm checking the reflections on the model. I think I need here a hard edge. I can do this with smoothing group. So I'll do an auto smooth, but keep this angle to a lower value. Okay. So this is actually the angle that this modifier will consider when interpolating the shading, right? So if it's 0, it's like this, and if you raise it a little bit, because this one have a smaller angle than this edge, it will work just fine. So it's always better to do this, for instance, with a smooth modifier rather than coming here and adding some extra edges to get this sharp look. Okay, so this looks pretty well. I'll just break the symmetry of it a little bit. So say I can come here like this. No, I think I'll loop these edges. So just to see a little bit better what I did, I selected all of these loop. So this selected me in a U fashion, so I'm unselecting those. So you can come in here and pinch them a bit in front. Do the same for this side. So just to add a little bit more detail to it. So okay, that's pretty good. I'll just go a little bit more in here. I have somewhat of a difference. So yeah, I think we're pretty good like this. I could go a bit more exaggerated here, but I'm not sure if it will look that good. You can always try, right? So okay, let me check this part now. Unselect soft selection. So yeah, I just make sure it's all on level, right? So this should be here. Okay, Go a little bit lower. You can expand this considering the papers going more spread, and I can also come here a little bit lower. So where the papers stack. Okay, so this is a good model. I see I have a smoothing issue here. I should increase this a little bit more. Okay, so everything looks in order. Now I have to go again and check the UVs and see if everything is in order. So some people prefer adding an editable poly modifier here and start selecting polygons. This is a good practice, and in the latest version of Max this has a pretty better workflow than previously had. So I'll be using this method. Previously edit poly and didn't play it so well with shortcuts and was a little bit buggy. So let's jump in and select these polygons. These are the most important place for our UVs, right? So our main content will come here, and I'll apply UVW unwrap to these. So unwrap UVW will allow us precise control over how our UVs are laid. So first I'll just click here once and I'll see this checkered map here on my model. So first I'll select just the polygons from one face, and I wanna detach these from those of the other face. Right, I'm remembering that since I've made the symmetry here, these were overlapped identically, right? So what I should also do here is mirror them, but first I think I'll rotate them so they have a bit more meaning. So sorry, I picked them. Okay, I'll just scale this a little bit. Okay, so I notice I have this polygon here. So this one is the mirrored side, and this one is my proper side. So you see this polygon here should match up with this one, right? So I go to tools, mirror horizontal, right? Okay, now I have to line them up. I can just scroll in and do this by hand. I can also if I go to vertex mode, I can select the vertices that are interesting and align them like this, and do the same here. I want to double check that they're aligned. So right now this should behave like a hole. I can notice here how the texture flows on my model. So I have to keep in mind that when I'll be in Photoshop, I'll be viewing a similar canvas with my texture, and I want this piece to cover most of it, so I'm scaling it scaling it as much as possible. I like to leave some borders since I'll be controlling the UV placement in Photoshop of my textures, so it isn't imperiously necessary to go from precisely this corner of my UV layout. What is important is not going like this, because this means that these polygons will pick up the textures from this, and this part right here will pick up the diffuse texture from here, because this is actually a self-repeating tileable uh, square, so I want to keep it inside my boundaries. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. I have no deformation whatsoever, because I've mapped it first. I would have had some deformations if I would have done something like this. Let me show you. I'll apply another edited poly, and if I would have picked one of these edges and moved it to the right or to the left, then I would have had an issue. So to preview that checkered map, I can open my material editor and just put the standard material with a checkered map. Let's see. And let's just tile this up. Maybe choose something that isn't as dark. Go 50 by 50. Okay. So if I am moving this, you notice the texture will go off, obviously. However, all I did was lifting them up and down, so this is we can say a natural stretch of the texture. So good. This looks pretty good, the other pieces of textures, but I'll wanna make sure they're proper, so I'll be selecting those right now. Just you saw I just shift clicked here and it ringed my selection, so pretty helpful. I keep in mind that I have an extrusion back here. This won't show up as much, and I'll just control it from the cover side. The paper is important because in Photoshop you might want to texture this with a different color, or also in Photoshop if we'll want to mimic the pages here, so I don't need to model all the pages. I'll just draw some very 1 pixel thin lines here, so they have to be mapped properly as well. So I'm applying another UVW modifier. See what we have here. So again, this is symmetrical, so I'll just select this part, and I notice all of these are flat, right? So maybe I should start with these and fix them first. I just select them one by one. So I can select these ones as well and go with both sides. So right now they are extremely stretched, so all of this geometry is represented by a single line in my canvas. Is this line, so they should have been a rectangle. So okay, I'll just go to tools and sorry, to mapping, and I'll try normal mapping and go for back front. No, I'll undo that. So mapping, normal mapping, left right, that's it. So this virtually applied planar mapping. So all I have to do now is make sure which one is, so this one is the bottom, right, and the other one is the top. Actually, I didn't orientated my model that well, so anyone could be the top or the bottom, but let's just consider this one the bottom. So I'll just I scale them both down a little bit. Again, I like to have some margins, so Control Alt here to scale them in the center. Okay, and make sure to people this up, and I'll pack them relatively close, not too close. I don't want to have issues. I'll put them on the bottom of my canvas because I remember I have all this top side reserved for my pages. And now for these, I know these are overlapped, so I have to separate them. I could keep them on overlap because in the end I'll probably have the same texture here and here, but who knows if this would have been an agenda. I would have had like some markers here that would have gone up here, so it's better if they're separated. Okay, so I'll just bring these down as well. Okay, this leaves us the cover. So there are two options here. I can, one, do the cover, or B, not do the cover, since this is meant to be laying with the back. Now I'll choose just to leave one simple color for the cover for to speed things up a little bit. So what I'll do is another edit poly and make sure I select all of this. Now I'm not sure which is the best approach here. I think the best would be to manually select this and grow my selection, so I go in my extrusion as well. So okay, so now I should grow like twice. So once, twice, and now I'm down there as well. So this is pretty much all that would be seen from my cover. So this is why I'll just make it a simple color. So I'll apply an unwrap UVW modifier, open it, make sure I press Ctrl A to make sure I select everything, and I'll just scale this. So apparently I have something on the sides. I don't know. I'll just scale this down. I don't know why the selection is as big. It shouldn't be. It's actually curious. Maybe there are some leftovers. So regardless, I'll just scale this down to a very small value, and I'll just put it I'll put it here for the time being. So all I have to do now is apply another edible poly and leave it with nothing selected this time, and apply another UVW unwrap. So now I have all the pieces of my puzzle here. I can put this on the square, should be white, everything. Okay. Sorry, I'm not using this checker anymore. So now I am. So okay, everything seems in order. I could add an extra touch. I notice first of all I have some polygons here left. These ones, let me see. They're probably an part of the extrusion I haven't set up. So let me clean that up. I'll move this upwards and see. Yeah, it's part of the extrusion that I did early on here that didn't wasn't cut. So I can cut my seams. It doesn't even show it's that it's right here. So these polygons from under here, so these are mainly irrelevant, and in my case, so it depends. This is why I said I'll put them here so they have the same color, right? Okay, now I bring this down. So what I can do to enhance my my unwrapping is match these two to my papers. So have this one to continue with this one, just in case I have here a design that I would imagine would go down here. So I can go and do this just to show it to you. Okay, so I'm scaling this down a little bit for now. So I know this one should match this one. Okay, so if I'll select this vertex, it will highlight the one that is a match for, so because in my 3D model these vertices are just one, so they're matched. So I know this. I just zoom in here, place it like this, and go here and scale it up. Okay, I'll align this right now. Like this. So I notice I have this vertex deformed here a little bit. So this should be a straight line, right? I only pushed these vertices out a little bit. So I'll go ahead and don't know how that happened. I'll just flatten these and do the same for this side just to make sure. Okay, and I'll do the same for this part right here. Great. Now let's see. So this vertex is with this one, so I need to mirror it horizontally. So now they match. Okay. So one more time, I'll align them just to make sure everything is in order. Good. So this is pretty much it. Obviously you can go ahead and detail the model further, either way you like, but for our purposes this will do. Um, a good habit is also to make sure visually check the texture before exporting it. So no, everything seems perfectly fine here. Great. So now all you have to do is export this as an OBJ, and we'll be importing it in Photoshop in our next tutorial. So we'll go to menu, export. We can export the scene, though when I export just one object I prefer exporting selected. So here we choose OBJ and export our model. So that's it. Join me for our second part of this three-stage tutorial, when we'll be importing this in Photoshop and building all our lighting and rendering rig around it, and also our action. So see you later.